10-1 in that field. So it's not like she was some, well-backed firster that had a trip. She was probably maybe one that surprised them a touch with how well she actually ran. Is she going to be able to come back and do it off of this layoff where we're not seeing her yet again? And if anything, this is a tougher field than what she faced there.
It is definitely a tougher field. I mean, I think that Alice Cramden probably could win this race, but other horses, no question about it. But I got to tell you something. I don't love the Cassie numbers off maiden special to maiden claimer drop downs. And New York Breds, he's 0 for 4 with none hitting the board. 3 were short. I don't know. I thought this horse's form was falling apart.
She was heavily against the track in both of her last 2 starts.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
She was wide throughout on 2 gold rail days.
The 15th is a lot as sharp as the 14th as far as the rail being gold.
Well, I mean, Richie's Princess blasted away from them that day. She was a well-touted first-time starter coming in here for Larry Ravelli. And I hear you. She's going to be a short price, and there's reasons not to like her, but I just thought she was so against it in her last 2 efforts here at the Spa.
Okay. I thought Bonadieu was the horse to beat in here, actually, with Katie. Katie rides this one, and maybe he'll win and beat. I mean, she was a little bit against the track, not as much as the other one, but I prefer this drop down for Danny Gargan. Now, I know Danny Gargan's not had a particularly strong meet, but it's not like his horse run that badly. It's just he hasn't won that many races. But I thought this one was logical. What about the 7, Sweet Liberty? I know she's been awful. Could she wake up on the drop down, or she just finished?
I thought about it, but I almost feel like, is her best chance to be involved here? And I mean, it's not like she's going to beat Marley's Ghost to the front end.
Oh, I think she's faster than Marley's Ghost. I just think Marley's Ghost has been in slow pace races. Yeah,
well, I think Marley's Ghost, Jose Lozano only has one way to win this race, and if you don't do it, if you don't send from the rail, then you're taking away her only chance. So I think they go with her.
Okay, I don't think she's that fast.
Okay,
we'll see. All right, that's race number 2. The third race changed with the scratches because taking the 6-out implementation took out a lot of the speed because it ensured more of a fast pace because you had a third potential speed. And we'll start with Olympic Dreams. At the end of the day, I just think Olympic Dreams has turned into a really nice horse. And I realize the Film Star might be a little faster early, but I don't think that he needs the lead to win. And I just thought he might be too good for these horses.
I don't think he needs a lead either. And obviously after scratches, I would put less stock into my first, my top pick.
Yeah, you and Nick Tamaro likes Moore's Law, and I love Moore's Law, but
it's just now he probably doesn't potentially get the setup that he needs. But then again, when he broke his maiden, it's not like the 2 horses that finished right behind him, they were on the front end the whole way in Mount Craig and Heroes Medal. Moore's Law is going to have to run faster to take on this field. Olympic Dreams, I have the utmost respect for him. His job gets easier, I think, with those scratches. My only slight problem is with him is that he's been a scratch several times in between that commentator. And
last time.
So, are we going to see the same performance? Maybe. But
he just gets better every time he runs.
Does.
Look at his figures.
You can't take that away from him. You cannot take that away from him.
His figures have gone up every single one of his 8 races. That's pretty remarkable when you think about it. And Film Star, who's going to be favored over him probably because Irad is riding him, well, he doesn't win. He ran terrific last time. I mean, this was an excellent effort, but it was a race where the pace completely held together, and we'll pick it up in a second.
5 seconds in a row.
But I don't know what Irad's going to be able to do with him that Jose didn't do.
Absolutely.
And now, as far as Moore's Law, he beat the track last time.
I agree with you. That's why I put him on top. Again, like I said, with Certified Lover Boy and implementation out, it doesn't project to maybe press the pace as much as I was hoping for him to close into. But I think he's a nice horse, and he's one whose figures are on the steady increase and improve as well.
No, I'm a fan of Moore's Law. I've always been one. This is obviously a big step up.
Yeah.
He'll have to hope the pace gets together. And listen, at least this entry will be a solid price. But once again, you get stuck with the entry and you get the other one. Not the other one's terrible, and there's always sort of value in having another horse. But
his entry mate, I think, was best that day. Phelpsy at Monmouth leading
Oh,
contender.
not entry mate, but that
stablemate.
was I think Bill Lawrence. I think Bill Lawrence owns that horse.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm sorry, stablemate is what I meant.
No, Phelpsy.
Yeah.
All right, that's race number 3, the 4th race. The 4th race is a bit of a mess, and I guess you figure in the 4th race, what do you do, Magnolia Midnight? And the one thing Maggie and I agree in this race is obviously he can win.
Yeah.
But this was a big inside track. It was a subpar field to be kind, and this horse feels like he could be fool's gold in here, though obviously he can win.
That's what I feel like too, Andy. And I know I can confirm that this was a voided vet claim. And he's been a vet scratch since. I mean, Linda had him in an optional allowance. You know, maybe it wasn't an issue, but it was listed as a vet scratch. But then he's like laying down these 47s, 47s.
He's working well, yeah.
Like, I agree with you. He feels, like you said, fool's gold.
He just feels like, and you also have to think with Rally Squirrel in here and Kendrick, Tom doesn't have speed horses get rated. There's going to be some pace in here, and he had such a cakewalk last time. He might have been on the overlay of the meet at 570 in that 5-horse off the turf field. He probably should have paid 270 that day. And I agree, dropping in for 16, he may win, and Liz trying to stay in it. I can't blame her. She's 4 down, and the thing about it is, obviously, Chad Brown's a ridiculously high favorite at this point with 4 wins, but that shouldn't mitigate the great meet she's had. And Todd Pletcher's also had a terrific meet.
How about just a great year that she's had?
Yeah, right. This will be the first NYRA trainer title she hasn't won, going back to last summer, I think.
To Belmont at
Aqueduct.
She won all of them.
Belmont at the Big A, Maggie.
Okay. Back.
Belmont at the Big A. Back. You got the courage that I didn't have, and you picked making boss moves on top because you know that I spent a lot of time thinking about picking them.
I'm not totally confident.
No, you're not confident making boss moves? But his form is so good, Maggie. How can you not be confident?
I'm just hoping for the drop down wakes him up here, Andy. I mean, this is the horse who won the Albany last year, albeit on a sloppy racetrack, probably with the perfect setup. But again, I couldn't resist the drop in class. And how are you going to trust half of these other horses? You can't trust him. I get it. And I thought with Beaver Hat getting a little bit more distance to cover again, drop down with him. Silver Dust.
Well,
this is kind of, I feel in a way bad for this horse.
I should have picked the race 2-4 because I think Hang Tight is actually interesting on the drop down as well. So running against much, much better horses. Because the thing is, like, we'll look at Durkin's Call and Hammer and Amber while I talk about it. I don't want Durkin's Call.
Durkin's Call ran well, but he did hang a bit.
It did. And listen, not knocking Rob, but Rob Atcher's had a tough meet. And sometimes they continue and sometimes they don't.
He's claiming off Charlie Baker.
Right.
So.
And I just feel like there's more going on. As far as Silver Dust, listen, I agonized over this race. I didn't make picks in this race until I think this morning.
I didn't want to make any picks in this race.
It's hard to like anybody. I think the one opinion that you and we have 2 opinions. I agree with you, making boss moves has to be used in here.
Yeah.
At a price. And the 7 can win, but he's a little bit circumspect. So Silver Dust, I think it's an interesting trainer change on a horse that not that long ago would smother this field. And I felt like that horse that Linda won the last race with in the drop down the other Friday that came along.
Okay.
I feel like Linda get these horses back racing, and I want to give this guy one chance in Linda's barn at a price.
I hear you.
This is a tough race. I think both of our picks might be horrendous picks.
Yeah, they might run
but they might be
very well.
Right. They might be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. I'm more curious on your opinions in the 5th race probably than my own. Whether you've watched workouts or you've seen them there. Carryover, 251,000. I think that's the biggest carryover of the meet. And I'll tell you,
it's out here.
It ain't an easy sequence, Maggie.
No, it is
I don't know
not.
where anybody's leaning here. Maybe Ways and Means, but I don't know. We'll talk a lot of about that Spinaway after a break.
Dangerous rivals.
She's got a pretty good horse to her outside,
Yeah.
that's for sure. No slouch whatsoever. Good horses are going to lose that race. As far as the 8, Kanati, Kanati? I'm just guessing.
Yeah. That's how I would pronounce it.
I don't have any feelings for the sire.
The track.
Well, the other thing is, it's a turf.
Hightail's actually very good with his turf sprinters.
Great then, because this is Source had some trouble last time, got bet first time. The dam was 5 for 20 on the turf, 175,000.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Getting bet, was he just getting bet because it was
Todd
in
probably.
suspect field.
Probably fair.
Yeah.
But
the pace held together.
what I like about the Dam is, and this is her first foal, she was a huge move up on the turf. She could not
Absolutely.
run on the dirt at all, and she got on the turf and improved dramatically, and that's what I was looking for.
She's a stakes winner on the turf.
Yeah,
Minor stakes winner, but still.
I thought she would be really interesting. Could not run on the dirt.
Picada Prince, this is just a notes pick. I thought he just looked like a turf sprinter out through and through. That's what Linda entered him for. And he broke well, but he just wasn't quick enough to keep pace. And then he kind of got green in the kickback. And he ran home really well just to be beaten, narrowly by a horse who had experience on Honest Al.
Grand motion horse.
And Linda's horses do tend to move forward
And
with
the second
race.
Dam was a really good turf horse.
Exactly.
Won $410,000, ran a 95 buyer, and won five of 28 starts with 16 in the money. So, I mean, they seem like the pedigree horses. I mean, I don't know. Is there somebody else in this race that has pedigree? The 5 a little bit for Roy Lehrman, English Channel.
The 3, actually, the
3
Dam
does.
is half to heart. It's multiple Grade 1 winner on the turf.
No, I agree. That one's not impossible.
I didn't use, but I mean, you have to kind of look at cows. I think that's how you say it, just based on the works.
Cowess.
Cowess?
I don't know.
I don't know either. There's not much turf pedigree, but it is a Bernstein mare, which bodes well. Outwork actually does well with his turf sprinters.
Is Bernstein a half the Giants Causeway? Doesn't he have like a giant pedigree? I think that
No,
Burns.
really?
No. Somebody look that up
Freud,
and text me
text
or
us.
tweet to me or something. If Freud's not a half the Giants Causeway, is he
He's
the
a
one?
fool to Giants Causeway.
Okay, he's the one. But
Yeah.
Bernstein, I feel like Bernstein has a big pedigree, but I'm probably wrong. But I feel like he does. Anyway, that's first 5. We'll be right back.
Hold on.
What? Go ahead.
The 6 has a little bit of pedigree. Omaha Beach, Dam half to Temple City.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Seth will be excited. He loves Temple City.
I love Temple City too.
Temple City's one of these sires that never stood for that much money, and he's had some good success. A very
You
under
can-
the radar
and you can
sire.
get him for bargain basement prices
Yeah,
too. And
I agree.
They'll show up for you.
He's like a little bit like Midshipman, who you're a big
Yes.
fan of as well.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
2 sires that
Not
have done some
commercial,
good things
but they
that
do
nobody
well.
seems to be excited about, but they win.
know.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, that is the first 5. Quick break to hear from our friends at Saratoga Water. Maggie and I will be right back.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Thanks for the warning, guys, by the way. Appreciate that. Thank all the people in the truck that make our lives so much easier here.
And all of our
get the
cameramen.
credit. Yep.
As well.
Yeah, I agree.
you.
Everybody involved on the ground and in the truck that helps out in these shows. And, you know, they make it look easy, frankly, and it's not. And that goes for this show and Saratoga Live as well.
Yeah.
And they put up with us.
Yeah.
And I know we seem really nice, but we're not always that easy.
We're divas. We're the biggest divas.
Contrary to our incredibly congenial appearances. So race number 6, I'm interested in what you're doing in this race. And
Okay.
I didn't show the replay of Alpine Princess, but talk about her.
So Alpine Princess, I don't know how strong this race is because Colonial Rose did not come back and run particularly well in her second start. So I get that. She was bumped around a lot from either side at the start. So it kind of put her behind the 8 ball. And she was, running in between horses, changing paths. And I just thought it was a really good education first time out. And Brad Cox with his 2-year-old second-time starters dirt sprinting, he's 36%, 51 for 143 runners. And they've been putting her in the mornings with Dazzling Blue, who I know was an overbet favorite and only ran 3rd, but still, she's a nice older filly.
Yeah. The winner of that race got a 98 buyer, by the way.
I believe it.
That was
Holy
awesome.
moly.
Yeah,
That
she
was
good.
sensational.
She's
and
a good
so,
horse.
like, she held her own. Yes, Dazzling Blue drew away from her in the Gallo bout, but she should. So I just thought it gave me the impression that they like this filly. They think she has some ability. And for me, genetics has this really bad habit.
We'll show her.
Of
We'll
not
start in the
switching
end.
leads.
Yeah.
And she actually, in her last work, she sat 3 to 4 lengths off of Sugar High, who I think has a legitimate shot, albeit in the Spinaway, took dirt, and then they asked her to go up on the inside, and she still didn't switch leads. It's going to get her in trouble. She can win today. Maybe nobody else shows up, but I do not like to see that.
But I
It's a
still
bad
think,
habit.
given she didn't break, and she made this early move
I
in the
agree with you.
race,
There's
and
talent.
I know she fell apart at the end, but it was a 7-furlong race. I don't think it was a bad race. Stella Maris came back, and she ran fine in her next
Yep,
start. She
she
lost,
ran
but she came
good figure.
mistake, and she ran a good figure. So I do think it was a good race. And, you know, the question with both of these horses is how they're going to break today. You know, because usually they break better, but
Yeah.
they don't always break better.
Yeah.
And so that's really the question. I think with Manny and Alpine Princess going to come out running, and I agree. I think they are major, major players in here. I'm surprised you don't have Nikitas in here at all. You know, this is a horse that worked 10 flat first time out, huge tip, and basically stunk. I mean, she really did not run well at all in that race. And I will say that I talked to Chad Brown after the race, and he said to me, I got her wrong. He said, I thought, worked on synthetic. I looked at the Factor Dam, looking at it, and I thought, turf horse. He said, I'm telling you, this horse is good. You know, and listen, any trainer that liked the horse first time that doesn't run well, you know, it's hard to be right away to say, I was wrong. And sometimes you are, and it happens to everybody. I mean, sometimes they're morning glories or whatever it is. And he said, I'm going to run this horse closing weekend in the dirt, and I'm going to win.
Okay.
Now, listen, he's a confident guy, and no reason he shouldn't be, as a lot of people are. But I've been waiting to see the dirt. They like too much, and so I'm going to stay with this one and give her another shot. She will not be a short price. I mean, she's not going to be a huge price, but she's not going to be the price she was last time.
Yeah, I just, you know, like you said, she worked well at OBS. Her last breeze that I watched, now look, it was on a muddy surface, so you don't know really what you're dealing with there. It was with Dolomite, who was a short price, had a trouble trip.
He ran all right.
What?
Dolomite ran okay.
Yeah, but she's a New York bred.
Yeah, no, I know.
So she was second that day, and she worked just as well, just fine with her on the dirt. So, look, maybe I have her completely wrong, but I thought the two on the outside for Todd are quite interesting. And
We'll show Caitlin her greatness.
she was asked quite a bit for this, Andy, but just look at her stride. Don't look at the rider. Look at how efficient she moves. She covers a lot of ground.
I
She's
agree.
straight as an arrow. Watching her workouts on XBTV, she broke well, 2 back from the gate, that 47 flat. She was well in hand throughout. She looks like a big, powerful, strong 2-year-old filly. She's by Omaha Beach. She's gotten off to such a great start. Now, there is more turf on the bottom. As the dam, she was unraced, half on a slow turf race, but the dam's half the dog tag, who's a multiple
Turf horse, yeah. She
stage
was
winner on the turf.
Ellen J. Foxworth's horse.
Yes.
Chad had, and then they went out to
Yep,
California.
and they went to California. So, Scalable, daughter of Speightstown, general partner. Really impressive. Do you know what figure you got yesterday?
92.
Yeah, he's nice.
He was a really good. Yeah, we've
love
seen
me
some
some
good 2-year-olds.
Speightstowns.
We've seen some very good 2-year-olds
Yes,
the
I
last
agree
week of
with you.
racing here. You think about that horse that got a 96 buyer for Todd, the Clips
Yep.
Thoroughbreds horse on Friday, Fierceness the previous week, and we've seen some very, very good 2-year-olds this
Speaking
week.
of Eclipse Todd 2-year-olds, this one 3 back was worked with Candied, who won last weekend here, first time out.
Too many horses, too many races. My brain's
Broke
becoming
better
mush.
than her, worked better than her.
I thought.
In my estimation, my visual sense of
Now,
things, because Candy didn't break that well in that workout. To be fair,
I think a lot of people will maybe go to IRAD riding Scalable, but I wonder if the other better ones, Caitlin or Greatness. But
I like
they're
them both.
They're both dangerous. Todd's had a sensational. I mean, he's had a sensational meet overall, but he's also a sensational meet with 2-year-olds. He has really
Absolutely.
had some good ones. I mean, Chad Brown has too, but Todd has really had some terrific ones
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, no, interesting. This looks like a good race. Looks
It
like
does.
this is the. I mean, you combine this with the stakes, the hopeful tomorrow.
yeah.
there's some good 2-year-olds around right
yeah.
now. It's not one of these years where you leave Saratoga, you go, there was one, there was two.
I know, no, everybody feels
you
exciting
know,
this year.
Thinking about potential for maybe fierceness and general partner maybe squaring off in the Champagne. I mean, and the horses in the hopeful as well, so we'll see. Race number 7, this race and the 4th were the races that took me forever. We'll take a look at Ski Patrol and Harry Hood. I think a lot of people are going to shy away from Mark Hennig claiming from Chad Brown. I don't agree with that. Mark actually is 2 for 9 off the claim on turf. He doesn't claim that much. 2 for 8 in routes, ROI almost $4. And people claim from Chad Brown, they do okay with him because the horses are in good shape. And for the most part, these drop downs, they're just sort of running the spots they kind of belong in. And he got wired. Fredo came back and ran well, almost won yesterday. Good trip, but almost won. I know that Ski Patrol is a better post and all these things, but I thought that you get a better price on this one. I don't have a big opinion, by the way.
I agree with you in that sense. And look, Mark has had a sensational
great meet for Mark.
Saratoga meet.
Good a meet as anybody in the grounds.
If anybody's going to claim a horse and do okay with it from Chad Brown, it's going to be a dirt horse more than a turf horse. In my just kind of
I should look up the numbers. Did you look up the numbers?
I should have looked up the numbers.
Can you? Do you have a formula?
These are just my PDFs.
Oh, okay.
But so. And furthermore, he has speed, but he's going to have to do it from the outside. And I didn't necessarily love that dynamic for him. And I wanted somebody that was going to be closing. And I opted to go with Giroux here, who I thought at the 1.125 distance, that's who I wanted.
My problem with that, and he can listen, a lot of horses can win here. My problem is, man, I couldn't take a horse that lost to Ghostly Prince. I mean, I know the horse improved
got a
with
perfect trip, whereas Giroux was a little bit behind it.
I mean, Flavien Prat gave a long shot, a good ride. It's a shock.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's had a. I mean, there have been a lot of riders who've ridden well at this meet. A lot of riders, you know. I think, obviously, Irad and Jose, but Javier Castellano. I mean, Javier's in a conversation for an Eclipse Award.
Yes, I think it's
and deservedly so.
Irad, Flavien, and Javi.
And if he stops complaining to me, I may start to even like him even more, as much as I like him already. But
somebody that complains.
The racetrack, it's hard to believe people complaining. No, he's had a tremendous year, and he's had a great meet as well.
Yeah.
I think Manny, you know, you look at, I'd like to look up Manny's, because I feel like Manny was like 2 or 3 for 44, so close to 50. And he's just been riding like a house on fire since. And I feel like last year he started slowly too, and he really picked it up.
I agree with
Flavien has consistently been good, and I'm leaving people out as well. Jose Lescano, with the opportunities he's gotten, has ridden great here. And I think it's a pleasure to be with so many riders. And you know, somebody said to me last night, how much emphasis do you put on jockeys in your handicapping? And I said, around here, just about none, because they're all so good.
Yeah.
You
can't.
You know, you can't. You may get bad rides, but you can't assume you're going to get them. Why don't we look at Empire Traction? Because I think this is the wild card for Danny.
I think he's the dangerous horse.
Yeah. I finally decided to leave him out, and I actually flirted with putting him on top. I just don't trust him coming in here. But I also feel like losing to Grape Nuts Warrior, he might just be the right horse in here. I might just be outsmarting myself.
Grape Nuts Warrior had dream trip of dream trips here. He made this ridiculous early move, and, you know, was just narrowly defeated in the end by him, and this is the last turf race. So,
he's an ex-Chad Brown, by the way, Grape Nuts Warrior. He was claimed from Chad Brown.
Okay.
It is pretty funny.
It was funny, though. That race had 2 New York breds in it.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Grape Nuts Warrior is Tom Coleman's dad, by the way.
Yes.
Original owner Tom Coleman. His nickname was the Grape Nuts Warrior. A lovely man. Both of them.
Swashbuckler was in there.
Really?
Former Clement, or was he still Clement?
Yeah, he was Clement. He was Clement, for sure.
He was Clement. I don't think he was Clement in that race.
Clement is still gloating about his big upset with Parnack. I don't blame him.
Dylan, man. You're talking about a good ride.
You know, I feel for Irad in that race, because I can totally understand. It's easy to second guess half the race and say why he wasn't closer. But if you're Irad, you're thinking, if I make an earlier move and come after him and the 4 runs me down, then I look like a complete idiot. And it's hard in those 4-horse fields. So I really feel like it's easy after the race to say Irad should have done this. And I'm sure Irad said to himself, I wish I had done that. Because worst I would have been was second if I had done that, maybe. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. But I think it's hard to understand that he was really between a rock and a hard place in that race. And I think it's those small fields, those kind of situations have to be the hardest races to ride.
Yep.
Tricky race, see what happens in race number 7. There just are no easy races in this sequence in the pick 6, and you get to race number 8. And I'm trying to figure out what time
this
it
one's
is.
a little bit of a headache as well.
I mean,
to say the
I
least.
guess Don't Mess with Tess is the horse to beat. And didn't you just feel like you kind of copped out when you picked this horse?
Absolutely.
I know.
She did have the. This was. This
She ran
was
very well
another
in here. She ran well in
hindsight's
here.
2020 with Irad, with her last time, and I think this
She
turf
should've
course
won.
labeled as good. It was an absolute deluge before this race. Wonder how wet it was. She made this ridiculous early move, whereas the winner just got the right trip with her moving too early. So and
this
she's
is
well
she ran
clear
well.
of the
Stella
rest.
Mars ran well in her next start.
Yes,
Ran second.
exactly. So, total cop-out. I will fully admit it. But I could not warm up and have a strong, concrete opinion about anybody else in here.
I kind of wanted to pick Accept Temptation, but she never wins.
Exactly. And she was clearly third best in that race.
Let's just skip the next replay because nobody cares. Well, somebody cares about Mooley, but I thought you
went
might
with
get
the
that. We
11
can
here.
skip that. So, the 11 can't fool me.
I get it.
I'm doing my best to get Horacio into the winner's circle, or I'm probably preventing him.
had a rough go.
Well, he's a guy who has had some just brutal beats in this meet.
he has.
That Jeremiah one ran him down at the wire, and it was just like the last run. That horse ran well in the last race that I tried and ran third at a big price. But you look at Can't Fool Me. I think the maiden win was actually okay. The maiden win gives this horse a chance to improve to be competitive in this race. And then she gets an off-the-turf mile-and-a-quarter race, which, to be honest, probably was a good prep for her to get into a race she belongs in. She's not a dirt horse. I mean, she actually ran better in that race than she's ever run in the dirt, to be honest. And now she gets back to the turf, and I thought maybe she has some room to move forward. I didn't want to pick the 10 on top. I totally agree with you. She's way the horse to beat in this race. But I thought I could make a little bit of a case for this horse, and she's a little bit underexposed. Is that fair?
I hear you. From my
She just may not be good
perspective
enough.
in the paddock, I've never liked her. You should read some of my notes. I don't want to say them on air. They're just not very complimentary.
And, I mean, listen, there are horses. Miscreants race 2 back on the turf is not absolutely terrible.
I agree.
Maybe Diamond Status finally found she likes to win after winning in her 14th
Yeah, you
start.
never know when the light bulb goes off. Does
Yeah.
it stay on?
It's
The light
on.
bulb goes on. Does it
It's
stay
somebody
on?
a couple of people have been joking with this on Twitter, saying you guys say light bulb off and it's light bulb going on.
Yeah.
But you say, and they're right.
They're right.
But the sense is it goes off in the sense that it
They go
the
off.
alarm goes off.
Right, exactly,
Right.
yeah.
It's not. It's that's the way. It's hard
Yeah.
sometimes in your brains,
No,
our
they're
feeble
right.
brains to do that. It's funny people joked about that, but anyway. And once again, listen. Maybe it comes down to Don't Mess with Tess as sort of a lean-on horse in some ways in the pick 6, and given whatever your bankroll is, she is a horse you have to use prominently. She's not exactly the kind of horse you want to lay all your money on,
No.
but she does have 5 wins. She's not a horse like Accept Temptation that
Exactly.
doesn't win. She does win.
Exactly.
And you're right, she should have won last time out. Then it comes to Spinaway, and I'll tell you one thing, Bright Work and Ways and Means didn't scare anybody off in here.
No, it's great.
We'll start with Ways and Means. And I think I'm as eager to see her, and obviously, listen, I'm very friendly with the connections, so it matters to me personally. But even if I wasn't, I don't think there would be a horse I was more eager to see make her second start than Ways and Means, because this was a tour de force, Maggie.
This is sensational. I mean, just not asked at all. Took back, broke fine, took back, sweeped past them like they were all tied to the 8th pole.
I don't go big on could have run faster, and who knows how much faster she could have gone.
I
But
love
come
it that
on.
Chad said that was his one direction. Don't let her do too much.
Well, she had worked 45 and change
Yeah.
2 weeks before the race,
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons she took as much money. But Chad's been talking about her back at Belmont Stakes weekend. He was talking about her with us, and part of it is that she's a homebred, strong incentive ran for Seth, and
Practical
have to. Yes, practical joke, but also a half to highly motivated, a half to
and
surge
surge
capacity. I mean, this is a pretty good family. She's exciting, and you never know exactly what they're going to do in their second starts. Chad talked about that a bit with you yesterday.
He did.
But he said she's doing well, but you really don't know.
never
And the other
know.
thing is, she's got a pretty good horse outside of her. in Bright Work, and I thought
Who
her
is
Adirondack was
proven
sensational.
that she can come back and repeat and get
Yeah.
better. So Bright Work here, I think a lot of people were suspect of, well, the gate to wire at Ellis, because that's the way Ellis has been playing. Is she going to get more distance and get better with more distance? Can she rate? And when she walked into the paddock, Andy, she's this big, scopy, beautiful filly, and you watch the extension of her stride that indicates that she's not going to have a problem with the 7. Yeah, she was a lot harder ridden for this victory than what we just saw from Ways and Means, which I do think says a little bit. That's why I did opt to have her third, but I cannot discount her. The 3 top fillies that we both used in here are very nice, and we should talk about Sugar High too, who I just fell in love with in the opening weekend.
I want to say one thing about Bright
day.
Work as in comparison to Ways and Means. It's very hard to compare, especially the first fraction of 6.5 furlong races, because they have a longer run up. But she got a 45 1/2, and they went 46 2 in Ways and Means. So with a final time perspective, of course, Bright Work rates to have a very favorable final time, and Ways and Means coming off a very slow pace, and she was like a turf horse almost the way she ran at the end, and that's one of the reasons that I prefer her. It's not a negative on Bright Work, who I think is terrific, or Sugar High, and you don't know if they're going to come back, and it's Bill Mott, and you can sort of expect, but you don't know until they run, but she's kind of the Echo Zulu of this field. I mean, Echo Zulu ran a 90-plus buyer, and she ran an 80, but Echo Zulu debuted on opening day, and came back in the Spinaway, and
that's what it is.
She's
it's
good.
a little bit more time, that she gets here. Now, you're going to see Junior ask her, once, twice, and then she's really going to level off. And this was at 5.5. And Andy, you look at her pedigree, you look at her physically, she doesn't want 5.5 furlongs. She's just so much better there than those horses. She's going to relish the 7 furlongs today.
And look at Leia Moscato, who's second to her. She's right inside of her. She improved 6 buyer points in her next start. So, yeah, that is a good race. And listen, Wonder Ride's race was a good race. I know she got a decent trip in there, but I don't want to completely be dismissive of her.
Well, and as you said, Stella Martis came back and ran a 79 in this New York bred stake race.
Plus 8 points.
Right, in her next start. Now, we talk about, you used her fourth, I used Allie's Beach
You're
fourth.
sucking up to Tom.
Definitely not. They've really come back and improved out of that race. Now, I do think Life Talk had a more taxing trip than Allie's Beach. Tyler Gaffalione gave her a peach of a ride that day. But she came back and improved 15, and another horse came back and didn't win, but improved 18 points. So it's a better field than that 60 would suggest.
Right. It could be in the mid-70s type race,
Exactly.
and which makes her not a contender per se, but a much
underneath.
And I want to point this out for people who will be looking at tomorrow's hopeful, because it won't be reflected in the daily racing form, the change. We had talked quite a bit about the general partner race. The race had been won by Valentine Candy, and it was a slow race. There's no denying it. And it's not just Bayer that had that number low in the mid-60s. Timeform US had that number slow. I know the Ragazins had it slow. I can only assume other figure makers had the race slow as well. It was a slow race.
Yeah.
But we talked about with Andy on the show yesterday. I had 3 horses come back and improve 26, 27, and 33 points, or 39 points.
Yeah.
Well, we saw General Partner yesterday. He improved 30-plus points. Even Brad's horse improved 24 points, I think, out of it. So they have raised that figure 19 points. So if you're looking at the hopeful tomorrow and you see that 66 and Valentine Candy, and I'll talk about this more tomorrow as well, that figure is an 85 now. It doesn't make him the favorite in there, but it makes him a much stronger contender. And that is a race 2 horses have won, but that's a key race. It doesn't matter. They're all running
like
better
going
than
into
that coming
race
out of
too.
it. Right.
I remember being out on the racetrack and being like, man, this race is full of good-looking, quality horses. And the fact that it came back so slow, I was like, But
yeah, I mean, listen, the tracks can be changing. They're weird tracks. And, once again, it's not Bayer. It's everybody had that race slow because it was slow. But sometimes tracks change, and it's hard to judge it and not know why. And I know people be critical. I think the idea of being critical of the Bayer Associates for changing numbers, they're admitting they were wrong, and they're trying to correct a wrong. I mean, should they know they're wrong and not fix it?
No, because exactly. And you're dealing with 2-year-old races.
Right.
It's
on tracks that are changing, and you knows what's going on during them. And you're right. And that race looked like the first really good-looking male 2-year-old race the meet, and then it came up slow, and you're like, that's weird. They all sucked.
Right.
And apparently they didn't. So we'll see what happens going forward in that. But wanted people to know that when you look at the hopeful tomorrow. 85 fig for Valentine Candy. The last race. So let's skip the replay I put up there. Sorry, guys. It just doesn't really work. You know, we have a very similar opinion. It's funny. I was talking to Nick Tamaro, and Nick Tamaro said to me, isn't Whiskey Lullaby dropping down just a cinch in here? Fast pace last time. And he's not wrong. But I just worry she has a little bit of quit in her.
And she was getting out last time, too.
Was she? Okay.
She looked like she needed the race in the paddock, so she might, move forward. She just looked heavy. She wasn't really, into. But she also only wore front wraps. There was a lot of question marks with her for me. She could be loose in here, which does make her even that much more dangerous. But I thought there were some more interesting propositions. And we both agree with the 1 and 7.
Let's show that. Can we still show that, Eddie? The replay. It's addressable market.
1?
If you can't, don't worry about it. The point is that addressable market is the morning line favorite in this race because it's Chad Brown and Irad Ortiz. And it sure as heck isn't because of anything she's particularly done on the racetrack.
I was like, oh, maybe she had a little bit of a trip. No, I think she had a perfect
just
trip here.
Mediocre. I did too. Thought she had an absolute dream trip here, and she basically runs in place.
Exactly.
And I just think there are so many more interesting horses.
Wait,
First of all, Whiskey
her?
Lullaby's better. What's
Didn't
that?
She was in on a Sunday, and then we got this deluge of rain. They took everything off, and she scratched. And we both did not like her that day, too. I forgot to look it up at the scratch
I certainly
board,
believe that. But this has been a meet. And I'm going to say something about this meet. And I understand the weather. We say it every year. We're only going to be as good as the weather. And this year, unlike a lot of years, it's been lousy weather. And that happens.
This is my 14th year up here. I think this is the worst.
But there is one of the most ridiculous narratives out there from people who basically haven't been here that this meet's been some kind of disaster. Nothing could be further from the truth. Obviously, there have been some difficult moments. And to deny that would be ridiculous and difficult for everybody. And we appreciate the support. But there are an awful lot of people here every day having a hell of a good time. And our handle is down because we're off the turf 66 races, 17 last year. It's still the second or third biggest handle we've ever had in Saratoga. And the highlights of this meet, Arcangelo and Jenna Antonucci, who, by the way, has risen even higher in my esteem because she, too, understands the Hamilton Ghost is the best restaurant in town. Ran into her the other day, and I said to her, have you discovered Hamlet? She said, no, Andy, I just come here a lot earlier than you every day. She comes a lot, and it's nice to see her. But performances, 2-year-olds we've talked about, just there have been an abundance, as there always are, of great moments. And yes, there have been some extremely difficult moments in here. But to use that as a reason to say it's been this disastrous meet, and there are issues in racing that have to be addressed, and we are doing our hardest to address these issues. But Maggie, there have been great moments here, and there have been a million people that have come to this place, many of whom had an incredibly good time.
Yeah. I can definitely say I have taken more selfies and pictures with people and just fans that are just so happy to be here. So, yeah.
I mean, it's a joy to be in Saratoga, and that's why when it's disappointing, it's magnified because everybody looks so much forward to it. But in the midst of the complaining, I see posts on message boards or tweets where people say, I went to Saratoga 4 days and I had a great time. And I've been here in the rain and people are happy. It's not perfect. And like we said, nobody's trying to sugarcoat the very difficult moments of this meet. But that doesn't mean that there haven't been some wonderful moments as well for all of us. And a lot of it's because of the fans. You say, talking to the selfies. You fans out there, thank you. You cannot be nicer to us, and it means a lot. Don't kid yourselves.
I think
it means a lot to all of us.
In the Photoshop, Instagram era that we live in, people expect life to be perfect, and nothing in life is perfect.
No.
And this is just,
and certainly not in racing. Took that picture of that little girl yesterday. The father put it up on Twitter. She was agreeably, understandably more excited to meet Katie than me. Some old guy she doesn't know at all. But that was cool. It was a great highlight for me, It was better for me than her. Anyway, our options are the 1 and 7. You've taken Jet City Woman. I've taken Rosie Tomorrow's.
Yeah, Rosie Tomorrow's in her, 2 turf races. She's been posted outside. She's run against some legitimate horses, 3 back in just her second start. She was 12 of 12, out hung wide the entire way in a race that was won in gate-to-wire fashion. But I did think that, Jet City Woman made it significant amount of sense here. You know, what chance did she have chasing wide, going 1.25 miles in a maiden special weight? She doesn't have much early speed, which could hurt her here. But we wonder, you know, coming back off a little bit of freshening, could she show a little bit more? But she just missed against the favorite, 2 back at Aqueduct.
I agree.
And I'm rooting for my man Tony Dutcher to get a win here before this meet closes.
Yeah, no, we both, we're both, I mean, Tony's much closer to you than me, but I'm a friend of Tony's as well, and I agree. And he's had horses run well, but he just hasn't started many horses, and it's tough. You don't have that many horses to run in that situation. I'm going to take Rose tomorrow, the one you have second. Just thought it'd be a bigger price. She started out well. She, too, is dropping down considerably. I just was hoping on the drop down she could get it done. We think the 1 and 7 are the right alternatives in this race. Obviously, the 3 can win. We are both against addressable market. Yeah. Just feels like a mediocre horse that they may default to as the favorite because of the connections, and it's just probably not the right way to go.
Good. Yep.
It's been a pleasure, Maggie.
Likewise.
It always is. You'll be back on Sundays with me down in New York as well.
Except for the first Sunday.
Yeah, you're off. You're there. They're opening day, but you're
opening
gone
day,
after
and then
that.
I'm off, and I'm riding in the Real Rider Cup.
Cool.
Yeah.
For charity?
For charity.
Make sure you get me the link so I can give money. I think I did it after you did last time.
After I fell off, you felt bad for me, huh?
I didn't feel like bad. I made fun of you.
Bringing my own horses.
As long as you were okay, I made fun of you.
Yeah, no, I landed on my feet. It's fine.
Yeah, no, actually, no. It's a great thing, and talk about it for 2 seconds.
Sure. So it's this wonderful idea that Anita Motion and Maggie Kimmett came up with to raise money and to bring awareness to the many talents of off-track thoroughbreds once their racing careers are done. And you know, Anita kind of pulled together some high-profile names in the game. 2017, Rosie Napravnik, Joe Sharp rode in it. I rode in the second year with Tom. And so it's been this show that's been put on. It's kind of moved around a bit. Now we have 2 divisions, one in Lexington that happens in July, and then this one at Fair Hill happens in September 15th. And you can go to therealridercup.com to donate. You don't have to donate in my honor. There's many people participating in riding this year.
Thanks. That'll be fun.
It will be.
Looking forward to that.
Really looking forward
Not
to
looking forward to missing you next week, but you'll be back.
Yes.
And at our home. Maggie and I spend a lot of time together at Aqueducts. Our offices are right next to each other. And I come in and annoy her on a regular basis. But anyway, it's been a lot of fun. You and everybody else. All right. Naira Bets. Head on over. Use the promo code SPA200, and we will match for $200 of your initial deposit. Play any track, anywhere, anytime. Play through Naira Bets. 251,589 the pick 6. It ain't easy, but that's a hefty carryover. You'll want to get involved in that. We have 3 pick 4s, 2, 4, and 7 for the pick 4s today. We have the low rollers contest. Ray and Jay, one last time outside the Miller Time 4-star Dave Barr. $40 buy-in, $30 bankroll, $10 prize pool. Lots of fun. Head on over. Good guys, all good. Low roller contest, and we thank them, those 2, and Donnie Nelson as well for his work in making this work throughout the meet. We have a cross-country pick 5, 2 here, 3 at Del Mar. Del Mar Derby today on the turf.
Oh.
I've not looked. I'll take a look.
Yeah.
Close finish for the 3-year-olds, running 1-2 in the Pacific Classic, with Arabian Night coming back after his 3rd place finish in Haskell and beating Go Rocket Ride. Yeah. More 3-year-olds that look to be interested going forward. Yeah. And 103 buyer, by the way, for Bright Future, the winner of the Jock Club Gold Cup. So step forward for him. And Proxy ran a big number 2, one of his better numbers. We have $3 million bonus today. It's always 1, now it's 3. It's the last one. Got to play that late pick 5 through Naira Bets. I know it sounds crazy, but there were 2 tickets alive yesterday for the extra $1 million bonus.
I get super excited heading into the last leg. I'll be on. Are you on early or late?
I'm on early today.
Okay, I'm on late, so I'll be.
Yeah, it's cool. I love it. So $3 million bonus, lots of fun. More reason to play through Naira Bets, and Taste of New York Pavilion. Today's the last one. Gate A, Berkshire Bank Family Zone. Speaking of that, the Berkshire Bank Family Zone. Berkshire Bank Family Sundays, 11 to 4. Same area. Head on over. And last but not least, we are on from 12:30 to 6. 12:30 to 6. FS1 from 2:30 to 5:30.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Maggie, thanks again. Thanks to you. Thanks Frank Miramati. He's coming up for his penultimate reprise of the Scratches and Changes in 2023.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.